Welcome to 144,000 Teachers, the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. Looking again in the menu at City, Country, and continuing with Ministry of Healing, Training, and Practice. We are looking at the second day, Surviving the Days Ahead, with 19 booklets, which you can find in the library of 144,000 Teachers. And in this particular section, you will have Ultimate Country Living, as well as many advices on housing, water, food, as well as how to build your own greenhouse and containers for gardening, setting up your seed bank, simple canning, 29 plants as wild food, country living medicine, medical guide, etc. We have many information here that you will not want to miss and study in preparation for country living and the days ahead. We have also the book Ultimate Survival Medicine and Wilderness Survival Medical Guide now that we would like to show you. And as we will look at it, we're not necessarily looking at every single page and reading everything for you, but it's to give you a taste of how complete these booklets are with great information. In this particular case, it's the Survival Medicine Kit, and you will want to look at the table of contents and see the validity of this wonderful information. And this is why you need to learn first aid, the importance of cleanliness, the basic of wound care, how to treat a wound, and they give you here some information on the biology of the body. And here there are different wounds that you can treat with natural remedies, even how to treat a broken bone and how to perform CPR, treating hypothermia, and many more information. We would like to bring you actually to this number, treating a broken bone, on page 13, just to give you a taste of what is to be used from these books. You have a lot of information and a lot of great guidance into it. And so you do not want to miss to study beforehand. It's very important to have those at hand. And these, by the way, they're PDF format. So any of these digital book and pages can be actually printed and kept in file as a portfolio for future references. And it is, again, important to prepare beforehand. So you want to read and study and look at these wonderful teaching in preparation. So you may not want to wait until all is done and over with in order to now wanting to learn and use this wonderful information. So as we are right now entering into how to treat a wound, we want in particular to show you the treatment of what do you do in case of a broken bone, and what if you don't have any possibility to go to a hospital for treatment. So it is important that you look at these and very importantly know what to do with this particular wound or hurt that you may have your body to deal with. So here we have the splint, how to do a splint in case that you have a limb that has been hurt. And a makeshift art splint can be made with sticks, with wrapping on each side to support the wound and prevent movement. Soft splints are good for joints like an ankle or elbow and can be constructed with a pillow or blanket. Simple wrap with a pillow or blanket around the joint and secure its position with duct tape may actually help to keep the bone in place. And bones that are broken or fractured can take up to 40 days. So they have to be kept into a kind of a structure so that they can hold and be able to heal. We have also found that with the broken bones, or when you say fractured bones, it's a different type of a hurt of the bones, but If you are able to have application of clay on the broken bones, it will also prevent a lot of damage on edema, any things that will make it swell. So that will also help very much into the healing. And we have also learned with cupping that broken bones, when you want to actually avoid also, especially with twisted ankle or any broken bones, you can actually do a cupping a little bit higher than when the bone's broken is, because it is an intelligent medicine. It will heal wherever the pain is, and that will also help to actually stop the edema or the swelling, and that can also help for the healing. And it's less painful when you don't have as much of the swelling. Now, as we continue with it with the organ damage, how to treat a sprain. Again, you will want to read these important teaching where you can use actually ice, compression, elevation. And then again, here is the treating of a broken bones that is caused naturally. And again, lots of beautiful information on how to help people with, usually it's the use of a splint that helps tremendously keeping it in place. Also, there are giving information here that are basic CPR, where you can help people in case of emergency, and you will not be necessarily able to go to the hospital with them, so you will want to have this information beforehand. We recommend, if you are close to an area where they do teach CPR, to take the course, and that will also help tremendously. So these books are definitely for us today, and you can actually help many people if you have this technique of survival medicine. How to treat hypothermia. If somebody has fallen into water, cold water, and you want to be able to help them quickly, it will show you how to do it, as well as heat exhaustion or heat stroke, it is called, and treatment of someone who is going into shock. Again, there are some technique for these particular problems. And ideally, you don't want to have to open up the book and figure it out when you have to do it. As well as how to treat burns. We have found with burns that clay from the river that has been already passing to the water and it's purified, you want to apply clay on a burn, and you will find that it will actually take care of that burn at any degrees we have found by experience. So you want to definitely know these things. How to treat diarrhea. Again, we have charcoal that we recommend greatly, and also keeping the person hydrated, because diarrhea may cause actually a disbalance in their particular organs and also in their electrolytes, such as sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium. So lemon juice is recommended. So they give a very, very basic teaching, but is also sufficient to help people. You can also use an electrolyte pack to give your drinking water all the nutrient it needs. So you can also drink black tea and also be able to stop this inflammation of the intestine, which cause much more problem than needed. So, and how to treat a drowning victim. This again, it's a very important lesson to learn in case you have to deal with water and somebody may have fallen in the water, may not know how to swim, and then you want to rescue them and help them to come back to life. How to treat when you have an animal attack. Treating a bite, we have already looked at how to treat a bite with snake, but there are other animals that you might be facing if you are in the wilderness, and this is very important. And even if it's at the level of a scratch, you do not want to ignore it, because animals can have diseases that they can pass on to you, and it can be extremely dangerous if you are even getting just a scratch. That can also be very dangerous, especially if you cannot have a tetanus vaccination. You want to be able to help yourself. Charcoal at hand is always very important for these kind of injury, and very, very important to practice them immediately as soon as possible. Again, there is here how to treat a snake bite. So you want to refer to what has been shown and what is presented. Any additional information is always important. Spider bite. when you are facing with spiders in a region. Insect bites. There's not too many regions around the world where there are no insect or even snake. So you want to know how to take care of those. And especially if you have spiders as well. Some spiders can be very, very dangerous. So again, managing an infection along with an injury. So sometimes you may have an injury like this one here is pretty dramatic. You put a nail in your finger right into the joint. So that can be a very, very difficult situation, but you still want to be able to help. And this nail looks pretty rusty, so you probably will have to take care of infection. And we recommend also you get acquainted with peroxide. Peroxide is not like a rubbing alcohol. You put it on a wound or something and it doesn't hurt. And if the wound is infected, peroxide will show you that it is infected because it will have some bubbles on the infection. And again, here, activated charcoal for an infection is highly recommended. And these people, just like we have done for many, many years now, know how to use this important medicine. Either here you can have it in the pills, or the powder is also better. We also teach how to prepare charcoal in the forest. When you do a fire, a campfire, you can do charcoal with those coals. And even if they're not activated, you can use them for external treatment by simply removing the ashes. They have to be burned completely. The wood has to be totally burned. So you can grind it with 2 rocks and it will become a powder. If it has not been burned completely, it would remain like wood. So you will not be able to powder them and make a poultice with it. But here it's very well explained, just like we have given you in our classes, that you can do a poultice and you can change it every couple hours on that wound, and you will be able then to take care of any infection and be able to be free from any dangers. So here we have antibiotic for an infection, so you want to read that. We do not use chemicals, but in this case here, they're suggesting having some with you just in case. Some people are allergic to everything, so it's kind of very difficult to even treat them sometimes with natural remedies. And here we have, again, some antibiotics fight against infection and bacteria. And these can be definitely natural one. It would be better that you prepare yourself with what we call homeopathy. And homeopathy treatments are very, very effective. And they will help you to keep any infection under control, especially having to do with even cold or cough or pneumonia. So maggots, if you have anything to do with those and deal with those, you want to be able to clear up any of these because they can definitely cause a lot of trouble. And of course, we have here different herbs that are mentioned: aloe vera, bilberry, calendula, cayenne, chamomile, echinacea. Beautiful plants you want to be acquainted with. And it's interesting because in many countries around the world, you will find these particular medication, like garlic, for example, ginkgo biloba, ginseng, golden seal, lavender, licorice, peppermint, sage, etc. So we encourage you to look at this little booklet. It has 38 pages. And again, we are not prepared to read every single pages. We encourage you to do it for yourself. And make sure you have your medical list. You don't have to bring a whole pharmacy with you. If your body is acquainted with certain medication or ointment and it answers very well, natural remedies, it's good to have this checklist with you and be prepared. So we encourage you to look at this booklet and study it carefully and print it for referrals in the near future. And hopefully, not necessarily that you will need it, but to have it at hand. We are looking as well at Wilderness Survival Medical Guide, which is a different booklet. It's not quite the same as the one we just looked at, but it also contains many information regarding what to do in the wilderness survival when you are wounded. And you want to avoid to have a bad state of mind. You don't want to be lazy for sure. You want to have skills for surviving in the wilderness and how to find safe drinking water in the wilderness, how to store food, how to choose a shelter. And you may think that this is only in case you get lost in the wilderness, but think about the future and situations where people have had to flee literally, like it's happening right now in the Ukraine. And many people simply left with a suitcase and the clothes they had on their back. And because they didn't have a kit ready in case of injury, many of them, I'm sure, they were hoping that they would have had that prepared in advance. You never know. Nobody could have predicted that war in the Ukraine, and we're hoping and praying that it will stop and we can expand this work so that many people can be informed of the coming of the Lord and the kingdom of God. So let us pray and study and be prepared, because there are things that we will need to face. Again, here we have having to do with frostbite, hypothermia, what to do in case somebody injured themselves, what to do in case of a need of a first aid kit and how to use it. And animals that are sick that can give you rabies, distemper, anthrax, those are diseases that you may have to face. And you need to know what to do. Animal bites and first aid when there are a bite that you have to fix. So we encourage you. This particular book is 26 pages, and this is simply given as suggestion, as a guideline. If you need the care of a doctor, you do not want to forego that, you have to go to the doctor, or you have to go. But if you're in the forest somewhere and you don't know how to get there, you might as well try to have to do with what you have and still survive. It's not impossible. If you have charcoal, that can take care of a lot of these problems, believe it or not. And again, do not eat what you don't know. Like, for example, people eat all kind of food in the wilderness, like mushrooms, and they can actually poison themselves. So it's better to be safe than sorry, because if you're, too sick, you may not be able to care for yourself and your loved one. So also how to find safe drinking water in the wilderness. Charcoal again. If you have charcoal with you, you can filtrate some water, and that water can be drinkable. And again, we're very pleased with this book, because we didn't write these books, but they are definitely activated charcoal people. And they will tell you, for example, that it will remove bacteria and other microorganisms, although it doesn't remove heavy metal and toxins. But in this case, you can boil the water. Always boil the water no matter what. Don't take a chance. And then add the charcoal to it, and you should be safe to drink this water. And the best is also to have a kind of a filter made with charcoal, and that is very safe to travel with. Again, how to choose a safe shelter. You can actually make a shelter out of branches and tree leaves, and you can actually, again, be safe and save yourself from having to sleep in the outdoor, totally on the open. Again, you have to be careful where you travel to, because there are a lot of sometimes dangers with flooding and danger of wildfires and lightning. And when you do campfires, how to be able to extinguish them carefully so that you don't get the forest on fire, then you're really in trouble. So again, you want to have your first aid and learning them beforehand, so you know what to do in case of dehydration, heat exhaustion. It's a bit redundant. It seems to repeat what the other books is showing, the other little booklet we just looked at, but sometimes the details are added, and it's important to know them as well. Like, for example, in the case of poisoning, what do you do? And we know that definitely charcoal, again, is one of your best remedy for any type of food poisoning and other type of poisoning. In case of fracture, dislocation, that again is very important to know. In case of drowning, if people are drowning and you're trying to help them. And also sometimes you will have to deal with people, if you're traveling with them, they may have a mental breakdown, they may have problems mentally that you didn't know, and you will have to deal with that as well. And again, that also can be caused by dehydration, believe it or not, especially in the case of depression. People forget to drink, and then they get sick and they wonder why. So there again, we do encourage you to practice these things while things are going well, because when the things get tough, that's no time then to try to help people. Again, here they have all kind of information on how to help people with addiction and all kind of beautiful, beautiful survival group that they suggest to you. And of course, don't forget that in the wild, you will encounter different animals. This one is pretty drastic, very scary. We have them here in our country, and they're very dangerous. At times, you wonder if you'd rather like to meet a snake instead of a bear or a wolf or a fox. Or these are dangerous animals too. So you want to read this to instruct yourself, and don't think that when the time comes, you will know what to do. It's better to know in advance than to suffer the consequences. And again, there can be also some problems that can be brought with wild animals, and you don't want to have to deal with this if you don't know what you're doing. So we pray that these are good information that you will refer to, that you will have at hand, and carry this booklet in your kit, prepare them in advance, copy them, and have them ready in case you need them. Some people think they will be able to use their cell phone, but many times in the wilderness, as you probably know, you will not be able to get a line. You won't have the Wi-Fi to be able to get the information on your cell phone. So the writing of those information is very, very important. So here is the end of this particular booklet, and it's a very, very important booklet to have at hand. And again, you can find this booklet in our study that we are doing on the lifestyle education here that we have offered, and the section here, city, country, and we have done the first day, and this is actually the second day. And this is in the section that we have here where you will find all these wonderful informations. So we hope and pray that as you study carefully, you will be able then to use these remedies. And hopefully you don't have to, but if you have to, you will have them at hand and you will have the knowledge of them. So remember, it's in the Ministry of Healing Training and Practice, as well as the School of Ministry of Healing, where we have many more information on natural remedies. So may the Lord bless you as you prepare faithfully. And as they say, prevention is better than cure, but also being ready is always better than now you're facing all kind of difficulties and you do not have the knowledge for it. May the Lord bless you and cause his face to shine upon you and give you peace always.